Like they still had to convince someone of something. Like anyway, take your break. It's 11:10 now. I'll see you back here at 11:10. Cool. Thank you, Michael and Karen.
You just grow. So, and thank you.
All right, so we are going to start learning Python now, okay? So everyone, I'm going to share my screen here. So let me just share my screen. We're going to be learning Python. I'm going to be starting a new workspace as well. Once again, you can follow along with my workspace. You can do your own workspace, whatever you want to do. I'm going to start up a workspace. So let me just start this off. And what are we on? We're on day 13. Wow, day 13 already. Goodness gracious. So this is term 1, day 13. I'll turn it on to Python. Cool, and I'll make this, I'll share it, allow public. So you can either follow along with me or make your own workspace, but please do one of those two things, all right? I actually find it better if you are coding along because I think it's easier. It is in your mind a bit more, but there we go. Cool, so what we're gonna be learning today is Python. So first off, in computer programs, any computer program we have something called data types. All right, so we have something called data types. And a data type allows the computer, allows the program to identify what it's currently working with and what can and cannot be done with it, right? We'll see how that plays out here in a second. But data types, computer, you're telling the computer exactly what it's working with and what can and cannot be done with that. So for example, we can add two numbers together, right? So if we said, hey, computer, your data type is a number. We want you to add two numbers together. The computer knows how to do that, right? But what if we had two pieces of text and we want to add, what would the computer do if we said, hey, computer, I want you to take these two pieces of text. I want you to add them together, right? So it's going to have a different outcome than adding two numbers together because we're working with text. And how would that computer program interpret that? So that's why we have data types. And most computer programming languages actually share a bunch of common data types, but there is some in one language that doesn't actually exist in another. So computer languages, they do differ in the types of data that they can handle. And for our journey into Python, we're going to start with the string data type. So that's the first data type we're going to start with, is something called a string. Gaston, do you know what a string is?
Oh, I do, yeah. It's
what is it?
Like it could be like a word, string of characters more than like something that isn't a number. So it could be a letter, an @ symbol, an exclamation mark, as long as they're in the quotations.
Cool. Good one. So a string is just a piece of text, right? I guess that's how we can consider it. Some type of text, like you said, characters in a sequence. So that is going to be a string. So basically, same as you reading an article, all the words in that article, string, right? Mind blown. Oh my gosh, string, text, cool. But we need to but Python just doesn't know that we're working with a string, right? It doesn't know that we want to treat this as a piece of text. So there is specific syntax, and like Gaston alluded to, there's a specific syntax in Python that we need to use to tell it, hey, we're working with text and not a number, right? We're working with text and something that isn't a number or anything else. It is text, it is a string. So the way that we do this, like Gaston said, is by wrapping it in quotes, and that can either be double quotes or single quotes. So let's write our first Python program, maybe for many of you, maybe not for some of you. So here we go. We're going to do it through the terminal at first. So I'm going to do open terminal. So I'm opening up my terminal here in this workspace. And I need to run Python, right? So Python is our programming language. We need to run what's called the Python interpreter. Remember, we need to go from our human written programming language into this binary language that a computer can run. So we need an interpreter. Our interpreter is called Python. That's what it is. So we are going to just type Python into the terminal, and Python is currently running, right? So we just typed Python into the terminal, and now Python is running in our terminal. This is called interactive mode. So Python's currently in interactive mode. It allows us to write Python code directly into the terminal and play around with it. And notice, Grace, what version of Python are we using? Can you figure it out from the output in the terminal?
3? Oh,
3 what?
3.8.2.
3.8.2. So the latest and greatest version of Python, that's what we're running. All right. So we are running version 3. We're running version 3.8.2. So let's give it a string. Like Gaston said, a string starts out with some type of quote, double or single. And then we can put our text in here. So I'm just going to say, hey, there. And we end our string with the same double or single quote. So there we go. We have a string. That's what a string looks like in Python. That is a piece of text in Python programming. So when we click enter, there we go. No error. It just sort of outputted our hey there string. Okay, nothing broke. Awesome. We wrote our first line of code maybe. Nothing broke. Now this is pretty cool, but it would be kind of hard to write an entire program in the interactive Python, wouldn't it? Like writing every single instruction in here would be quite difficult to manage and move and all that kind of stuff. So we are going to exit the Python terminal, right? So we're going to exit interactive Python. The way that you do that is you type in exit and 2 parentheses. So exit and 2 parentheses, and we hit enter. And now we're just back into regular old terminal, right? So we're back into regular old terminal here. Now, Grace, a better way to write our Python code is to write it actually in a file. So instead of writing it directly in the terminal, just like we did with HTML and CSS, we're going to write our code inside of a file, and then we're going to give that file to the Python interpreter. So what is the terminal command for creating a new file?
Oh, make directory?
No.
Oh.
Not a directory. We're going to make a file.
Was it touch?
It's touch. All right.
Oh,
so
no.
we have touch. So we're going to go with touch, and we're going to call our file strings.py. Now, Gaston, I said it before, and I want to ask you true or false. In Linux, is the file extension necessary? Do we have to put .txt, .html, whatever? In Linux,
in Linux, it's not. No,
it's not necessary, right? So then, why do you think we might want to add the .py to this file?
It's to tell it that this is a Python programming, that this is a Python file.
That's right. It's for us, right? It's for us more than anything, right? It's for humans to organize this code and say, hey, this is a Python file. Everything you find in here is Python. Not necessary, but you definitely want to do it. And it helps your computer understand when you're writing code or your IDE, your text editor, hey, we want like Python highlighting. We want Python syntax stuff. So there we go. So we're going to have .py in here. And we're going to open that up. All right, so we have our strings.py. And actually, let me reopen my terminal here just so it's on the bottom. There we go. So I have my Python one at the top. I've got my terminal down here at the bottom. I'm going to clear out the terminal. And I'm going to re-put in my string. I'm going to say, hello, Gaston and Grace, inside of my double quotes. Because remember, for Python, a string needs to be double quotes to know that it is. All right. So there we go. We have a piece of Python code in there. We saw that this worked before. So now let's give this file. So in our terminal, we're going to give this file to Python to run. So the way that we do that is we say Python space and then the path to the file that we're going to be using. All right. So I need to give it the correct path. So I need to know the correct path. Grace, how can I get my current path? How do I print my current working directory? Do you know the command in Linux for that?
C. No.
CD is change directory. I want to know where I'm currently at in the computer.
LS.
No.
Oh, PWD.
WD. Okay, so we're in the home directory. That's cool. Now, Gaston, if I wanted to list out all the files and directories where I'm currently at, which Linux command would I use?
ls.
ls. Okay, so it looks like that strings.py is currently in the directory that I'm currently at. All right. So if I wanted to do an absolute path, I'll go with Gaston. Gaston, if I wanted to do an absolute path, so if I wanted to say Python and then an absolute path to this file, what would that path look like?
Forgotten this one. I can't remember the absolute path. Sorry.
That's cool. Grace, do you remember what an absolute path is?
It's from the root.
It's from the root, right?
Huh.
So we see in our PWD that from the root, we're in our home directory. So home, and inside of that home directory with that ls we did, we saw that there is the strings.py, right? So we've given it a path to the file. So this is one way that we can run our Python file or Python code is it's in a file. We give it an absolute path. And if I click enter, I didn't get an error, which is good. The computer didn't yell at me. So everything ran right. So that's a thumbs up. We didn't see anything printed to the screen, but it didn't yell at us. But instead of an absolute path, I can also give a relative path, right? So Gaston, what would be the relative path in this case?
Oh my god, I've completely forgotten all this.
All good. That's why we do this.
Far out.
Pass?
Yeah, sorry. Jeez.
Grace, what would be the relative path?
I think it's the same thing.
Well, that would be the absolute path. If I went /home/strings.py, what would be the relative path?
Just strings.py.
Just strings.py, because I'm already in that directory, right? So the relative path to this file, because I'm already in the directory, is just strings.py. And that works, so it didn't yell at me. Or another way to write the relative path is I could say dot, which means right here in the current directory, that's what dot stands for. In this directory, /home, I want to load up strings.py. It's a different way of writing the same thing above it, all right? So all three of these work. I didn't get an error on any of these three. So I would either give it the absolute path, which is /home/strings.py, the path for my root directory. I gave it a relative path because I'm already in the home directory, and I saw that with PWD where I'm currently at. I'm already in home, and I saw that the strings.py using ls is inside of the home directory. I can just say Python strings.py because I'm already located there. Or I could be even more explicit and say Python dot, which means this current directory, I want to load up the strings.py file, okay? So three different ways, but Python is running our code again and again and again that way. Awesome. So does anyone have any questions about those just running a file with Python at the moment? I know we don't see any code on the screen, but does anyone have any questions about the paths that we've given Python? Does that make sense? Yeah, great.
So for the strings.py with the two different ways you can run that, is there one way? So the second way looks like you'd use that if you haven't already sort of defined where the path is in the line before, but you're still assuming. I guess I'm not sure if there is a difference between the two lines.
Cool. Great question. So the reason why I'm able to do all three of this like that is because I'm currently located in PWD. But let's say I was located somewhere else on my computer. So let's say I was located maybe in the root directory. So I've changed to the root directory. So if I ls, I'm in the root directory of my computer, right? So if I wanted to run the strings.py file inside of that home directory, even though I'm currently located in the root directory, I would have to go Python home strings.py because that's where that file is located, right? So I'd have to give it the path to the file, And there we go. It ran. Once again, we're not seeing output. That's okay for now. We're not getting an error. If I try to give it a file that doesn't exist, just to show you, like Garrett.py, I get an error, right? Because it couldn't find it. It says Python can't open the file, home/Garrett.py. I couldn't find that file. So because it can find that file, it can run. So we know we're doing it correctly. Okay. If we're doing it incorrectly, this is the error that we would get. Let's say I was located in a different directory. So let me just cd into dev here. All right. So if I clear this out, my pwd, I'm currently inside of dev, but my file is located in home strings.py, right? That's where that file is located. So if I wanted to use this absolute path, even though I'm currently located in dev, I could do that. It ran just fine. Or if I wanted to use a relative path from where I'm currently at, I would say starting from where I'm currently at, I want to move one directory up. So I'm going up into the root directory. I'm then going to go into the home directory and run strings.py. That would be the relative path from where I'm currently located.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like the dot slashes short for the path that you're already on.
Right. So the dot slash is where I'm currently at. I'm right here inside of dev, and then the two dots is moving up a directory. So I'm going to move up a directory into root and then into home and then find that strings file.
Oh, okay.
So let me ask you this, Gaston. If I wanted to change directory back into my home directory, what symbol could I use to do that? There's a shortcut symbol to go. What is it?
I'd use ... but is there another symbol?
There's
That's
another symbol that means home directory. Go straight
right,
to home.
The squiggly. What's that called again? The squiggly line?
Tilde.
Tilde. That's squiggly.
It
line.
is the tilde. Just think Waltzin, Matilda.
All right, yeah. Got it.
All right, you'll never forget it again. That's how you go home. Anytime you hear Waltzin, Matilda, you're like, I'm home, right? There it is. You'll never forget it again. So there we go. So we use the tilde, we hit enter, and that takes us back into the home directory. So there we are. So if I ever am lost, this is a really good thing if you're ever lost inside of your computer when you're doing all these different CDs and changing directories and you're like, man, I don't know where I'm at. CD tilde, back into your home, work from there. All right. So there you go. Cool. Now we've been running a Python script. We've been running this one with this string here, hello Gaston and Grace, but nothing's been happening. Okay. So nothing. So it looks like it ran because we didn't get an error, but nothing got printed to the screen. Well, once again, does Python know that we wanted to print something to the screen, Grace?
No, it just.
No.
Yeah.
So it doesn't know that's what we wanted, just like we were talking about with procedural thinking with our peanut butter sandwich. We have to be very specific. We want to say we want this thing outputted. All right. We have to tell Python specifically we would like to print. All right. And so if we would like to print out our string, what we have to do is we're going to wrap our string in a print function. Now we're going to talk about functions later, so don't get caught up on that. All right, so don't get caught up on that word. But we are wrapping our string inside of a print function, and this is going to tell Python, I want you to print this out. Okay, we're now telling Python specifically, I want you to print. So when I now rerun my code, I'm going to go Python strings.py. Whoops, I got to spell Python correctly. Python strings.py and hit enter. Boom. Hello, Gaston and Grace to the terminal. All right, it's printing now. Awesome. We did it. We told Python exactly what we wanted. Sweet. Cool. So now we see our string show up on the screen. The thing you have to remember, though, those quotes are very, very important, those double quotes, okay? Because those double quotes tell Python that we are working with a screen. What would happen if we remove these quotes?
Wouldn't work.
Gaston says it wouldn't work. Let's go. All right, here we go with the poll. Gaston says it isn't going to work. I'm going to start a poll. If you agree with Gaston, say yes. If you disagree with Gaston, say no. It's not going to work anymore. There's a lot of confidence and not a lot of confidence. It's like a 50-50 split, Gaston. What have you done to these people that they don't believe you?
But Trump, I'm very divisive.
All right. So the votes are in, publishing the results. All right. So we got a lot of people saying yes, some people saying no. All right. So let's see what we got. Let's see if this will work. And we're going to come down here and we're going to run it. If I can find my mouse cursor, there it is. It didn't work. Good job, Gaston. Now, I'm going to tell you the secret to being the world's greatest programmer. Here is the secret to being by far the world's greatest programmer. That secret is understanding what these errors mean. Okay? Being able to read your error message and understand what Python is trying to tell you, being able to understand why you receive this error, that will make you one of the world's greatest programmers. All right? So let's go through this error and let's break it down and see what it's trying to tell us. It says, in the file, strings.py. Oh, that's pretty cool. It knew that we were running the file strings.py, I guess because we told it. It says on line 1, right there, on line 1. It said, when it tried to run this, when it tried to run print hello Gaston and Grace, it says, I didn't understand what you meant. That's what a syntax error is. I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me to do. I don't get it. All right. You've written something that I cannot translate. You've written some type of something in the language, and I don't know how to turn this into binary. I don't know how to turn this into zeros and ones. Okay. You've done something that I don't understand. That's what invalid syntax means. Okay. You've done something that I haven't understood. They've thrown the bread on the floor. Yes, Karen. The bread bag exploded because we didn't understand what it meant. So these quotes right here are super important to Python because it tells Python that everything inside of these quotes is a string. And that Python understands that. I want you to print this string, this piece of text to the screen. Python gets it. Without those quotes, it doesn't understand. Okay, and we get a syntax error. So now that these quotes are back, hey, we're back. Our program works. Okay, and like we said, we can either do this with double quotes or we can do this with single quotes. Python will allow us to do either double or single quotes. If I run this again, hey, it still works. Now, once there are people that will argue about this, okay? There are people that will argue about should I use, well, actually, before I get onto that, let me just, hold on, did I skip anything? Okay. So what I want you guys to do right now, before I move on, what I would like you guys to do right now, I want you to print out 10 different strings in your program. Just go. 10 different things, 10 different pieces of text, 10 different strings, 10 different lines of code, print out 10 different things. Go. Ten things all in the same document. Yes. 10 things all in the same document. And actually, since you guys are getting so good at printing, I would also like you to do the challenge Hello World inside of your lesson. So inside of your lesson, you have a challenge called Hello World, Hello, World. I want you to complete that challenge. All right. So I want you to complete that challenge, Hello World, inside of your lesson, please. And I'm going to start a poll. Once you've completed that challenge, Hello World, inside of the lesson, please hit a button. Doesn't matter what button in the poll, just hit one of the buttons as soon as you complete the Hello World challenge. And while everyone else is completing it, let's take a 5-minute break. So we'll take a 5-minute break while everyone's completing it. Actually, let's do a 10-minute break. Let's go on a 10-minute break. So 11:50, we'll come back. So during your break, please complete the Hello World challenge. Once you've completed it, take the other amount of time and just grab a cup of coffee, use the restroom, whatever it might be. So do the Hello World challenge inside of your lessons. And thank you, Grace and Gaston, for being on the screen.
Oh,
Hey, Garrett, what website would you recommend for the best Python documentation?
Oh, great question. I actually just read the docs. I read if you just Google Python 3, they have a docs one. So right here, Python 3 docs. Right here, the 3.8.3 documentation.
Cool.
They have some really good documentation. They have the what's new. They have a tutorial as well, which is pretty cool. So they have like little tutorials. Yeah, and they have like a pretty cool way of going through it. They also have inside of the docs, they have a beginner's guide down here. So they have a beginner's guide on the bottom left. And that beginner's guide actually has a whole bunch of different sites and things to practice your Python code. And it also has a whole bunch of beginner's guide pages as well. So there's like I think this actually has some really good, and they have quizzes and exercises. Like they have some really good stuff for you in Python in their docs.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so everyone continue to complete the Hello World. I'll just leave this up. The Hello World challenge. Actually, maybe I'll put it up on mine. Oops. So where are we at? This one. So do this challenge right here, the Hello World challenge. When you're done with that challenge, hit a button in the poll, and we will get kicked off back in the class here in 9 minutes at 11:50.
Or is there breaks?
No, there's breaks.
Okay.
Like in between two terms.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, just in case in the future. When is that first break?
I think it's in your calendar in Canvas.
Okay.
But I'll have to look it up.
Okay. I'll have a look there. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool. Oh, we got a duck. We got a duck and a pumpkin. We need a symbol for Jamal. Jamal, you have to pick your own symbol. I don't know what you want to be.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah, just give me some time to think about it.
It's an important decision. You don't want to rush into that.
If you take too much time, your symbol will get chosen for you, and then you never get a symbol. Or like you get the symbol that you don't want.
I need just to make a wise decision.
Oh, the BR jokes are coming out. The break jokes kills me. No.
Yep. It's happening, man. Ducko's taking over here. Still better than country. How dare you?
All right. We're coming back from break. All right, here we go. We're back from break now. I have to go find a pumpkin video now. Maybe we'll find one. We'll find a good one. I got to compete with that. That's a good one. Man, I need someone who's creative to make me a pumpkin video that's going to beat Bruce's Ducko walk video, please.
Yeah, the
Use that
dates for Michael are in the handbook on Canvas.
What was that, Jamal?
Michael was asking about the dates and the breaks. It's in the handbook.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, I just put the link here.
Awesome. All right, so we're back now. We were talking about printing in Python, okay? And we're talking about strings. Actually, let me get 2 more people up on the screen with me because I hate talking by myself. If you have not been on the screen today and you'd like to be, click yes. All right, that was Eric and Harry Tran, please. Eric and Harry. I ignored you, Bruce. You were just on the screen. Those are lies that you weren't on the screen today. Eric and Harry T, please on the screen. And promote them to moderator, please. Ah, that's why you wanted to be on the screen. Look at the
I need to
hat.
jump in. I need to jump back in here. That is a majestic hat, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is it? Like a red panda?
I'm not sure. It might be a sheeper.
All right, so here we go. We're printing now. All right, so I am of the opinion, I'll ask this question to Harry, even though Harry doesn't have his microphone on, he only has listening on, so it's gonna be very hard to talk. But I'm gonna ask this question to Harry anyway, because I'm hoping he can, quickly get that situation sorted. In 5, 4, 3.
He's on.
I'm gonna ask the question to Harry. Or sorry, to Eric. So Eric, you're good now. All right,
Yeah.
Harry. Let's go with Harry. So we have the ability to do double quotes or single quotes for a string. True or false?
True.
True. Okay. I am a big proponent of only using double quotes for a string. Now, some people can argue with me and some people do, but I'm a big proponent of only using double quotes for a string. Do you have any idea why that might be?
Because single quotes has a specific scenario that it could potentially break the function, I guess. It's when you use an apostrophe in your
All right.
sentence.
So great. All right. So I like it. So basically what Harry is saying is what happens if you do something like this. If you say this, whoops. So we have our single quotes, right? We have our single quotes wrapping our string, okay? And we have this apostrophe here within the word isn't for is not, right? This is not very cool. And maybe our text editor right away is kind of giving us, some feedback here. Some of it's red, some of it's black. So I'm going to ask you, everyone, the question, do we believe that this code is going to run appropriately? Yes or no? Is this code going to run with no errors? Yes or no? No errors. All right. So we'll publish those results there. A lot of no's, some yeses. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when we run the code. Python strings.py. Eric, what error did we get? Because the key to becoming the world's greatest programmer is understanding our errors. So what error did we get, Eric? What is Python trying to tell us?
As it tells us on the last line, we have another syntax error.
And what does a syntax error mean?
It means the structure is incorrect, I guess.
Python didn't quite understand what we were trying to say, right? Python did not quite understand what we were trying to say. So let's look at it from Python's point of view. We said we can use double quotes or single quotes to have a string. So what it looks like for Python is we said this bit right here, that's a string. It's got double quotes around it, right? That's a piece of text. Python goes, yep, that's a string, piece of text, that's around it. And then Python goes, oops, and then Python goes after that, it goes, what the hell is this? He goes, I don't know what the hell this is. All right. It's not a string because the string stopped after the end. So that's not a string. I don't know what that is. And then it continues on and Python goes, well, looks like, whoops. And then Python continues on and goes, well, looks like we're starting a new string, right? A new piece of text is starting up. And so this, why do I keep doing that? This parentheses here, this is a piece of text, but we never ended the new string. It doesn't have a single quote around it. We didn't end it. Oh no. So Python went, there's some code in here. I don't know what you're talking about. And there's a string in here that you haven't even stopped. You opened it, but you didn't close it. It knows what, it thinks that this is a string by itself. And so that's why I'm not a big fan of using single quotes in my strings, because it seems like we use single quotes a lot in the English language when we have pieces of text. All right. So if this was wrapped inside of double quotes instead of single quotes, do you think that this will give us an error? Do you think this will give us an error? Either yes for error or no error. Do you think yes for error now or no for no error? Oh man, look at this. Everyone going saying no error, Garrett. Not going to run into an error. Let's see if you're correct. So we're going to run it. No error. Yes, we printed out the string. This isn't very cool. And that's because when we start with double quotes, Python looks for double quotes on the end to end our string. So even if it runs into a single quote in our string, that's not what it's looking for to end the string, because it started with double quotes. Okay? So this is why I like to use double quotes over single quotes, because I feel like I use single quotes a lot more in text than I do double quotes. Now, what happens if you need to use double quotes inside of this text and we wrap it with double quotes? So what does it mean if, you know, we want to go back to doing single quotes with the single quote? What if we want to go back to this? How can we make this work? How do we tell Python that, hey, this character right there, that character does not mean stop the string? I know Python, that's what it normally means to you. It normally means stop the string, but that's not what I want you to do, okay? What I want you to do is treat that just like a plain old single quote. No special meaning in Python. I want you to treat that like a piece of text. And Harry, do you know how to do that?
The / character before the apostrophe.
So before the apostrophe, we put a / character. And what this is called escaping. So we have escaped that character. What we have told Python is it has no special meaning. I want you to treat it as only a single, as an apostrophe, okay? That's what I want you to treat it as. And if we print it out now, we'll notice we see this isn't very cool and we don't see the /. Okay, the / once again has a special meaning in Python. It is an escape. It starts an escape sequence. So it's not going to show up. It's there in the programming language just to help us tell Python, no, don't treat this as something special. Treat this as the character it is. So we can use double quotes inside of double quotes. We can use single quotes inside of single quotes. But when we do it, we need to make sure that we escape it. Because if we don't, then that character has special meaning to Python. And because we started with a single quote, it means to end the string, which is why we get red and then some black text. We don't want it to mean that. We want it to mean, no, it's just a apostrophe. It doesn't end our string. Cool. Does anyone have any questions about that? Let me do one more. We can also do double quotes inside of single quotes if we wanted to, right? So if I said, it'd be like, the boy said, I like pizza. Okay. Once again, this is fine because we started the string with single quotes, so double quotes is able to go inside of single quotes without being escaped, okay? So this is going to work just fine. So if I run it, yeah, the boy said, I like pizza, ran just fine. However, once again, if this started with double quotes, okay, if the string started with double quotes, Python thinks that this is one string, so it starts and ends with those double quotes. It goes, I don't know what the hell you're talking about right here. This is like garbly-goop to me at the moment. I don't know what you're talking about. And here is a string, whoops, and here is a string that doesn't have anything in it. So that's called an empty string. So if I run this, I will most likely get a syntax error again. And I did, invalid syntax, because Python didn't know what this meant. So once again, if I want to use double quotes inside of double quotes, I have to escape wherever I use that double quote. So I've used it twice. I have to escape both of them. Okay? And now this will run. Hey, there we go. Perfect. Does anyone have any questions about strings in Python, pieces of text, and how we would use double or single quotes and how we would escape a double or single quote if it was inside of another double or single quote? Eric, do you have any questions? Nope. Harry? Nope. I'm waiting on the chat. Does the chat have any questions? Karen, so a speech why people would argue against primarily using double quotes. It's my argument. I don't know if other people argue that same reason. It's the reason I enjoy using double quotes more. There are special meanings to double quotes in other languages, but in Python, I mean, double and single is pretty interchangeable. So I use double quotes because I use single quotes in text, and I don't want to have to go around and escape everything. That's my argument. You can use either. Actually, let me do it this way. You can use either, but pick one. All right? You're either a single quotes person now or you're a double quotes person now. You pick one today. All right? I would like you to be double quotes, but if you end up being single quotes, I want you to use single quotes for all of your strings in your entire program. All right? You don't go flipping back and forth. If you're doing a string, you use one or the other. All right? So you pick one. Cool. Okay, cool. So let's move on to the next section. The single quotes represent characters, though. I don't understand the question, Scott. Can you ask this question in a different way?
I have a question.
Yeah, go, Harry.
If you're working in a team, how do you determine, like, does the whole team use single quotes or is just whoever's doing whatever?
Great question, Harry. I love that question. All right. So Harry has asked a question that said, Garrett, code style, right? If there's a couple of different ways of doing something and I'm working in a team, how do we all settle on a particular code style, right? How do we set on a style guide for our code? People have actually written style guides for code, all right? For Python, I believe it's called PEP 8. This is a style guide. Yes, here we go. PEP 8, style guide for Python code, right? And so basically you might go into an organization that follows the PEP 8 style guide, meaning when you write your Python code, you need to be following this style guide. And do I use single quotes or double quotes? Do I use how do I write my code, right? And so basically they have code layout, indentation, maximum line length, how long should a line of code be? Blank line, should I have blank lines? Here we go. String quotes. We argue about it so much, there's a whole section on it. All right, so let's go with string quotes. inside of PEP 8 in Python, single quoted strings and double quoted strings are the same. The PEP does not make a recommendation for this. That's great. So the PEP does not make a recommendation for this. Pick a rule and stick to it. Hey, exactly what Garrett just said. You're either now a single quote person or a double quote person, but you pick one and you stick to it. And if you're in a team and they're already using double quotes, well, guess what? You should start using double quotes. If they're using single quotes, you should use single quotes, okay? It says, when a string contains single or double quote characters, however, use the other one to avoid backslashes in the string. It improves readability. Cool. So, and there are some other PEP style guides as well, but I think PEP 8 makes sense. It's probably the one of the most popular ones. All right. There you go. Style guides in code. So if you want to, as we continue to write code, I will be following this style guide, by the way. It's one that I use and have used in industry. So I'll be using this style guide as I style my stuff, right? As I'm writing code for you guys. So if you want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm following the PEP 8 style guide. All right. Because that's a guide. Guess what? You can write your own style guide if you want. You could have the Harry T style guide on Python, right? And just be like, yeah, we follow the Harry T style guide. You know, put it on the internet. Maybe people start following it. Cool. Any other questions before I move on? Scott had his question. Char A. Yeah, there's no real single char type in Python. I mean, there is a char, like there is a char type. Actually, I shouldn't say that because there is a char type. We'll get to that later when we do the strings deep dive, Scott. When we go into strings deep dive, we'll talk about the char.